Chris, give us a quick introduction to you and your background, first of all.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Adam. So I've been in the recruiting industry for 25 plus years. I worked at an agency, led an agency, my own, for 14 years, and then had done the corporate recruiting thing for the last 15 or so. So I think for me, my biggest thing is that I'm super passionate about setting people up for success.
Great. Okay. And you've had leadership roles in companies like Sage and Experian. Tell us about just before we go on to setting people up for success, just tell us about like that experience of going from like the third party side in-house and like how did things change over that 15 years you were in-house?
Yeah, so I think what's interesting is you ever talk to somebody that is on the outside fixing things, or they're on as a contingency recruiter, you're always scratching your head and be like, why did it take so long to fill that role? You start to learn all the things in the background of what's going on. And so you really have to start reading books, listen to podcasts, how to influence people and how to get things over the line. And I think for me, that was one of the biggest areas is it's not a you as a consultant, because you come in, a lot of companies in the past would hire me and say, okay, go fix this. Easy. You just cut through all the red tape and say, okay, this is, if you invest this is what you get. Whereas when you're on the corporate side, you have to influence and bring everyone together, where it's HR, it could be rewards, um, could be IT, whatever the challenge is. And I think for me, I learned really quickly, like I've got to level up myself and how to do that, and then focus on the bigger piece of the team, and also prioritize what is the end goal that you're trying to achieve, and is it a priority? And sometimes you have to push some priorities down to get other ones to work, if that makes sense.
Oh, it absolutely does. I think life is about just every day is about a continuous, like revolving set of decisions, and you got to decide what to deal with today and what not to deal with. And so, okay, setting recruiters up for success. It's a pretty big topic, this one. Give us your high level sort of 4 or 5 things that you highly recommend anybody needs to do.
Number one, if you are a TA leader or somebody that manages recruiters, please spend time with them. I beg you. If you don't understand what their day's like, it's hard for you to set expectations of what their day should be like. What are the outcomes? So number one is spending time, even if it's 2 minutes. You also, the other piece of that is the relationship piece. No one wakes up in the morning and says, man, I can't wait tomorrow to be micromanaged. People want to be led. And so that's part of that. I feel like the special pieces of things of understanding leadership. How do I lead people? How do I lead a all hands meeting, or just have a one-on-one normal conversation with somebody, ask them what's going on. Once you start knowing their spouses' names and what matters to them, it makes a big difference. And so that number two, I think the personalization piece is a big piece. And the last one is data. Know your data. And a lot of organizations are so focused on their KPIs that they're still hiring bad people, but they're showing they're great KPIs. No one cares. The business does not care. I think at the end of the day, they want you to build a great team and hire the best possible people you can. And so I think those are some probably quick tips, if that makes sense to you.
Technology's been a extremely like important dynamic in the recruiting space, the talent acquisition space over the last 10 years. Give us some insights around how we can set people up for success with technology.
Yeah, so just managing your day, right? So it wasn't that long ago that you had Booking and other types of scheduling apps that were implemented into the ecosystem wherever you're at. It's probably Microsoft if you're at a large company. And so those are some things of helping people manage their day and spend time doing the things that matter. I know with AI and the path that we're going, we really want recruiters spending time talking to candidates or hiring managers to move things along in the process. If you're spending most of your time with people that aren't a fit for the job, that's where I feel like, rearranging that. And I think, so you've got, everyone's talking about the scheduling piece. That's always probably going to be a headache for some organizations. But the other things I think are based on is that, how long does it take you to do simple tasks? What of those tasks can you give to another team or AI, and really focus on? I mean, if you look at the last 2 years, there's been a lot of letting go of sourcing teams, but companies still think they're going to be hiring the best, when in reality, they're probably only touching 10% of the people that apply to their jobs. So you've got to make that decision. Do you want to go out and source people? And if you're a recruiter with 100 openings, there's no way you have time to do that. You're just processing people.
The recruiter job is among the most varied in terms of the skills needed to do it successfully. Not everybody can be a great marketer and a great data analyst and a great communicator and a great, whatever else it might be. Are there certain types of people that you like to hire into your teams where actually they're more likely to thrive at all the different aspects of recruiting? Or do you like to bring in a blend of people and then put them into segmented kind of roles? Or how do you set people up for success with that lens?
That's a great question. I really think that there's a skill set to setting people up in the right environment. Let me give you an example. If you're working on high volume roles, then you don't need to worry about sourcing. It's more about processing and understanding the right profile to make sure you're hiring the right profile. But if you're working on AI and machine learning engineers, you're going to have to go out and source. So understanding that skill set, I think there's a curiosity piece that you need. The other one is grit. When I'm interviewing a recruiter and I can just see that there's going to be a challenge with the work ethic in that conversation. So I'm asking them questions like, what keeps you up at night? Tell me about something that you're passionate about outside of this conversation. And, if you talk to a candidate and she's telling you, I like to make sourdough bread, and here's 57 recipes, and you can see them get passionate. I'm, as a leader, going, how do I get them passionate about their job that way? What can I do? And I think that's the things that really elevate your team to deliver. It's the same thing with enablement, operations, across the board. You have to have the right people in the right jobs. And you're exactly right. And also being a human leader and understanding they're not going to be good at everything. So the job descriptions piece was a big challenge for us when I started at Sage. And somebody that you actually had on your podcast, Molly Sly, was kind of like, hey, we don't need to hire another recruiter. We need to hire somebody that can write job descriptions. And at the time, she was a TA manager on my team. We talked about it, and I'm like, how do I sell this? I'm new in this role, 60 days in the role, but what a game changer. Because if we quickly figured out, if we can just make a template, kind of like your product, and give the recruiter something that looks great, that they don't have to be, and this was before ChatGPT and everything else was crazy at the time. So they were rewriting job descriptions, because half the time you get a brief that's 5 years old from someone that probably was mediocre at the job, and this is what you're supposed to sell to the market.
So it's the end of 2025. I am HR leader in a mid to large company. We've had a lot of turmoil and disruption in 2025, and I'm thinking about 2026. And one of the most important things that I need to be considering when it comes to talent acquisition from here on. So a bit of future sort of what's it going to look like?
I think after the dust settles and after you look through the lens right now, companies are going to probably wake up and go, okay, we still need to hire the best people. And I feel like over 2025, that's hasn't been the focus. And, if you ask CEOs, they may tell you that talent is the most important thing, but their actions were not aligned to that. And so that's where I feel like that part of it is going to be more of an awakening of, okay, let's get back to it. And now we've got all this technology we can bring in, but how do we set ourselves up for success? And, um, you know, I think, like, for instance, like your product, poetry, people sometimes just need a plug and play and not, oh, okay, let's go build this from scratch when somebody else has already done that. And I think that's the pieces, the things within the TA tech space that you can chunk and go, okay, they've already done it. Let's buy that and use that. And I think that's where the market's going. Removing all of the noise on LinkedIn with a million jobs that no one's hiring for, but they're constantly posting. That's on a loop. That's consistently. I know that's a big frustration. You also have the candidate ghosting. How do you solve for that? Where people walk away from a hiring or interview experience and go, wow, that company was different. How did they make it different? Because everyone else is knowing the opposite side of that, where they're just frustrated. I feel like I've talked to a ton of people that have recently landed jobs. They were so frustrated with the process. They just wanted it to be over. Even if it was working for a bad company, they just didn't care. They were just like, let me get the job and I'll deal with it. Unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. Chris, one of the downsides of recruiting is it just changes so blooming fast and there's so much going on. But it's also one of the things I think that keeps guys like you and me interested in this space for so long. We could talk about it for ages, but look, it's been great to get some thoughts from you around this subject. And thank you very much for giving me your time today.
Yeah, appreciate your time. It was great for you to have me.